Lakeview 201 is being offered May 8th, 15th, and 22nd at 11 a.m. in the atrium. This class is designed to unpack our mission and postures. If you're looking for a way to participate and join in the life of Lakeview Church, this is the class for you.
Are you one of those people that doesn't share your recipes? Come on, who does that anymore? Here's the thing. We need you to share some of your recipes, whether it's an appetizer or a main course or a dessert for a special project that we are working on. So if you have something to share, email us at recipes@lakeviewchurch.com.
Saturday, May 7th at 6:30 p.m. in the Lakeview Theater, our team heading to Africa this June is putting on another fundraiser. There will be coffee, desserts, and live music. So come support our team heading to Zambia with Hands at Work, and all you need to get in is a little donation. See you there.
Hey, if you're a young adult in the room, you should really listen up because we've got something for you.
We have an event coming up called Story and Song. It's simply a night of worship and a chance for us to gather together in community.
So this is happening at 7 o'clock right here in the Lakeview Auditorium. Now this event is initiated by our young adults and really geared for our young adults, but truly anyone is welcome to join in.
My name is Cindy Reimer, and as a family, we've been attending Lakeview for over 16 years. This summer, from August 6th to the 12th, I am taking part in Freedom Climb, a project of Operation Mobilization, to raise awareness and funds for women and children who are being exploited, enslaved, oppressed, and trafficked. Come on May 15th during the link, and after the second service, I will be putting on a soup and bun lunch where I would love to share more with you about what God is teaching me, even before the climb.
Join us for a spring comedy night with Tanis Walmsley entitled Oh Do Tell, a night of comedy and commiseration. It's being held May 10th at 7 p.m. and coffee and dessert will follow the show. This is a joint fundraiser for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Fund and Lakeview Moms Ministry. So buy your ticket for $10 this week at the newsstand. Those are your announcements for this week. For more information, visit us at lakeviewchurch.com.
I'm going to invite the ushers to come forward to collect our morning tithes and offerings. Thanks so much as you continue to give. And as if you have been tracking with us the last few weeks in the Beatitudes, you'll come to realize, or we've come to understand, that the Beatitudes really is a system upgrade. It's an update. It's a change from the way things used to be, the old operating system, to a new one. But if you're anything like me, you're not so good with change. I don't like change. I don't like getting a new phone. I don't like really getting a new car. To be honest, the program I'm using right now to show these slides is the 2009 version of this program because I don't want to upgrade. Because I know where all the buttons are. And I like the way things are. And I feel very safe and very comfortable. And I just want things to stay the same. But in his words in Matthew 5, Jesus says things cannot stay the same. In fact, the Beatitudes are a description of a gospelized humanity, a system upgrade or update for the entire human race. And if we were to condense everything we've talked about so far in these last 4 weeks, N.T. Wright puts it well. He says that when God wants to run the world in his way, he doesn't send in the tanks. He sends in the meek, the mourners, and the merciful. Last week, Louise did a great job talking to us about those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. If we were going to condense the understanding of the word righteousness, it would mean to be in right relationship with one another and in right relationship with the world around us. And Louise hit that nail hard on the head when she said, hey, put on your mom jeans and get at it. And I had no idea what mom jeans were. And you guys, the moms know what mom jeans are, right? Let's go. Let's get to work. Let's get dirty. And this week we connect from there and we say that blessed or happy or congratulated are the merciful as the shape of God's new world, as his system upgrade comes into full focus. Jesus says it like this: blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. And you're blessed when you care. At the moment of being careful, you find yourselves cared for. Now, as neat and tidy as this little idea is, I feel like this might be one of the hardest, if not the hardest, part of this system upgrade that God wants to bring into our world and into our lives, and here's why. It's because showing mercy levels the playing field. It levels the playing field and makes us equal, both victim and victimizer, and for those who have been hurt and those who have actually done the hurting. And when we stop and hear that, we say, no, that's awkward. I don't like that. It's not equal. Well, if it doesn't feel equal or that it should be equal, what that is a sign of or a clue of is that perhaps you're maybe living still in the old operating system. Because in the old operating system, that's exactly how things would run. You would say, I want justice. I want retribution for damages. I want people to feel the pain that they have put me through. And then sometimes when we live by that old operating system, what we do is that we take our pain and the damage that's been done to us and we hang on to it tightly. And we hold it over the head of our assailants, those who have done us harm. Because for some of us, this means that we've got control or we've got power. Some of us hold on to our hurts as a form of protection. We say, well, if I just hang on to it, it'll never happen to me again. Or perhaps you have another reason for hanging on to your pains, for hanging on to your hurts. But Jesus says, none of those reasons matter anymore. Because there's a new system, there's a new update, there's a new way, and that's called being merciful. When Jesus uses the word mercy, it's so rich, it's so deep. It's tied to the idea of forgiveness. It's about releasing, about pardoning, about freeing, about canceling debt. When Jesus talks about mercy, he's actually talking about healing. When Jesus talks about mercy, he's talking about this generous deliverance. When Jesus talks about mercy, he talks about relief for both victim and for the victimizer from the misery and the miserable consequences of sin. But for those of us who still want to roll in the old operating system, you want to say, no, give people what they deserve. If they're bad people, then treat them badly in return. But Jesus in the new system says, no, that's not the way it works. Be good to those who persecute you. Love your enemies, even those who have caused you damage. And why is Jesus pushing this? Why is he pushing this shift to this point? I think it's this. I think it's because he wants us to see one another the way that he sees them. He doesn't want us to base our opinion on someone's value or to define them by their brokenness. He wants us to see them in a different way. Maybe this will help. See them as the true victims, as slaves of sin in the way of the world. Come to see them not simply as people to dislike, but as people to be pitied. Come to see them as being governed by the God of this world, as being still where we once were and would be yet, but for the grace of God. Be sorry for them and do not merely see them and what they do. See them as slaves of hell and of Satan, and one's whole attitude toward them is changed. And because of that, of course, we can be and must be merciful with respect to them. When people are out there hurting other people, when they are elbowing their way to the front, when they're leaving a wake of disaster and damage behind them, it's because they're operating by the old operating system. They still haven't upgraded, and they're stuck. And sometimes for you and me, even as Christians, we can get stuck in some of those same places. We could probably break it down in 3 different ways. Some of us get stuck right here, where we say, you know what? I have failed. And because I have failed, I'm not good, I'm not lovable, I hate me, I disgust me, I'm garbage, I don't like myself, and it sends you down this whole trail. Now, if I was going to be honest with you this morning, which I am being, if I'm going to get stuck somewhere, for me personally, this is where I get stuck. Where I will wake up in the morning before the day has even started, and a little voice in my head goes, I don't really like you. I don't like who you are. I don't like what you've done. I don't like what you're doing. And that sort of grabs a hold of my whole day. And I begin to work this stuff out where I'm just loathing myself. I don't like me. I hate myself. And then I act accordingly. But this isn't the way that God sees us. This isn't his perception of us. When you hate yourself or think low of yourself, that doesn't come from God. One author I read this week said this: it isn't gospel if it feeds this toxic self-contempt. Hey, you can be challenged and you can work through the ups and downs of being a Christ follower, but if that leads you to a place where you hate yourself, that's not what God wants. That's not the good news. That's not gospel. And this isn't a place that you and I can live. For others of us, we get snagged on a different spot and we say, others have failed me. Oh, I've got a long list. It's highly detailed, time, place, location, all of that. I know who did what to me at any given moment. And because those people have hurt me, well, because of what has happened to me, then that means I am justified to do whatever I want. Because of this, I can do that. And maybe you've been caught in some of those conversations. You've ever been in those conversations where someone will begin to repeat a story to you about how somebody has hurt them, and you're like, I have totally heard this. Actually, I've heard this half a dozen times from you. Are you still ragging on that same story with the same people? Sometimes I catch myself telling the same story. And you know when it hits me? When I've got the story down pat and it's well rehearsed. And I know the cadence of my voice, and I know the punchline, and I know the zinger, it's all there, and I catch myself and say, whoa, I'm obviously not over this, or I'm obviously hanging on to something here because I have told this story so many times. Jesus says we can't live here either. But then for some of us, those of us here today who are followers of Christ, we get snagged in an odd spot where we say, Jesus will just take care of all of it. Jesus can't fail. And we did that whole series on Revelation, so I know at the end Jesus wins. So until then, I'm going to put my feet up. I'm going to get one of those drinks with a little umbrella in it. I'm just going to coast to the end. Let Jesus handle it. But that doesn't work either. When we say it's not my problem, we remove ourselves from the work that God is doing in us and through us, and we can't live there either. So I'm wondering then, if it's in that headspace that the psalmist said so long ago, search me, O God, search me, know me. And in this search, folks, this is not a manhunt. God is not trying to hunt you down. No, God is a rescue and search operation all unto himself. And this is the system upgrade that mercy calls us towards, where you are not hunting yourself down, where you are not hunting down those who have hurt you. Mercy is a search party to help, find, rescue, restore, forgive, relieve, and give grace to those people who are still slaves to sin, who are still slaves to the old upgrading system, those who have resisted the update. So what this means for you and I is this. To be a follower of Jesus, we recognize the brokenness of our own condition. We recognize the broken condition of our world, but we also recognize that Jesus is doing away with brokenness. And that is why he has invested so much into this upgrade, into this new system. But the trouble is, if you and I resist the upgrade, the alternatives are deadly. When you and I neglect to show mercy, when we withhold forgiveness, when we would rather have somebody suffer than relieve them, then we are self-destructing. So let's call a few things out for what they really are here this morning. Revenge, my friends, revenge isn't an escape. Revenge is actually a trap. When you plot and when you enact revenge on someone else, what you're actually doing is incarcerating yourself. Let's call something else out. This might hit closer to home for some others of you. Holding a grudge is suicide. Because what you end up doing is keeping that long, detailed list of all the wrong things. You harbor it, you live in it, you tell those same stories over and over again, and eventually it just sucks the life right out of you. Or if that's not you, maybe this one will catch you. Abuse is contagious. For us as parents especially, you don't think that our kids are in like the fallout zone of our own poison? Have you ever asked yourself the question, what am I passing on to my kids? What are they inheriting from me? Because if we let it, pain and abuse become cyclical, it becomes this sick game of tag, where once upon a time someone tagged you and you were it, and eventually you tag your kids and then they're it. Jesus says, this is no way to live. But your problem and my problem is that I don't want to show mercy. I don't want to give forgiveness. I don't want to give relief. I don't want to let any of that go, because for some weird reason we've got this warped idea that if I let that go, if I show mercy, if I forgive, then perhaps that discredits or that invalidates my pain or my experience. And Jesus says, no, that's not true. In fact, it's the opposite. You and I, as Christians, we extend mercy and forgiveness and grace and healing and relief precisely because we know the pain of being abused, of being cheated, of being hurt, of being wronged, of being stolen from, of being talked down to. So because we've had those experiences, we know how toxic it is. We know our own shortcomings. Because of all that, we are all the more at the ready to extend mercy, grace, forgiveness, healing, and relief. So then, one of the big questions that rises out of this teeny tiny little verse for us this morning is this. Are you, and you, and you, are you showing mercy? First of all, are you showing mercy to yourself? When that little voice comes in your head and says, I hate you, I don't like you, I don't like who you are, I don't like who you become, I don't like where you're going, you're nothing, you're garbage, no one can possibly love you. Are you giving in to that? Or are you showing mercy to yourself when you make mistakes, when things don't work out so well? Are you able to see yourself the way that God sees you? Or perhaps the question to you is, are you showing mercy to those who have hurt you, those who have wronged you, those who have been unloving and unkind to you? And if so far you've been unable to do that, then the question is, why have you resisted or refused God's system update to that part of your life? Why? What we're beginning to uncover here in the Beatitudes, and especially with this idea of mercy, is that mercy isn't only something that God sends down to us, something just for me, just for the kind of cool people. Mercy is something that has to flow out of us, something that has to be extended freely to others in the same way that it was extended freely to you and I. Our old buddy Thomas Merton, he explains it like this when he says, when the Lord hears my prayer for mercy, a prayer which is itself inspired by the action of his mercy, he then makes his mercy present and visible in me by moving me to have mercy on others, as he has had mercy on me. This is the way in which God's mercy fulfills his divine justice. Mercy and justice seem to us to differ, but in the works of God, they are both expressions of his love. When Jesus talks about mercy, he's not like, well, you better show it or I'm not going to show it. You got to give it to get it. It's not tit for tat. It's not withholding mercy from us. It's not some sort of math equation where 1 + 1 = 2. No, mercy is greater and deeper than that. What Jesus is saying is this, that when we fail to extend mercy, healing, grace, love, forgiveness, relief, what we're actually saying to God is that I don't need your mercy, your grace, your healing, your forgiveness, your relief. I don't need you. He's saying that when you neglect to show mercy, and you're cutting somebody off and cutting them up and cutting them down, cutting them out, you're not just doing that to them. Actually, primarily, you're doing it to yourself. Here's a quote that I've shared before, but it's worth repeating. To forgive is to set a prisoner free and to discover that the prisoner was you. This has nothing to do with merit. What we were talking about here is being an extension of God's mercy. But if we choose to remain captive, if we choose to remain as prisoners, if we choose not to take God's system update or upgrade, what we are doing is actually discluding ourselves. To be merciful is to be a conduit. You hold on to God, you hold on to the one who's hurt you, and it flows through. If you're not holding on to both sides, it doesn't work. Showing mercy, receiving mercy are tied. Mercy is this invitation, and when we send the RSVP pack to those who have hurt us and say, no, I'm not showing you mercy, that envelope gets forwarded to God. And it's saying to him, well, I don't want mercy for others, and really then, I guess I really don't want it for me either. So let's hit a huge time out right here, and let's throw something out, first to the men, then to the women. Men, fellows, gentlemen, our world, culture, society, marketing have taught us what it means to be a real man. And usually that story goes, be tough, be awesome, kick butt and take names, stop at nothing, slit throats on your way to being the best, to being the champ. And Jesus says, that's the old system. That's the way it used to operate. Today, right now, in the upgrade, in God's kingdom, you want to be a man's man? You want to be a real man? It's not about being ruthless. It's not about being cutthroat, taking your opportunity. You want to be a man's man, a real man? Be merciful. Be merciful. Ladies, women, sisters, I want to step out of line here. But sometimes it seems to me that you guys are really mean to your own kind. And it's almost like a sport. And movies kind of play it up where girls catfight and one's got to be better than the other. And my kids are tidier and cleaner than yours. And my house is tidier and cleaner than yours. My husband is better than you. And there's this comparison thing. And then we get all catty and gossipy and hurt one another. That's the old way. That's the old way to get ahead and assert yourself and make sure that you're looked after. Jesus says there's a new way. And he says to you, my female friends, who produce mass amounts of estrogen, Jesus says, you want to be a fine woman, a woman's woman, show mercy. Be merciful. But the challenge here is this. As men and women, if we hang out in that place long enough, you know where it leads us? It leads us to a place where we need to become okay with losing. And I don't know about you, but I hate losing. I hate it. Maybe you know this story. When my family and I moved here about 3 years ago, we had to get a moving truck. And it was my responsibility to get the movers all set up and organized. And my wife was like, I'm not sure if I like the ones that you picked, but I got these other ones that we tried. I feel like I like them better. And then being the cool guy that I was, I said, step aside, wife. I've got this under control. Don't tell me how to pick movers. I know how to do this. She was right. I picked the wrong movers. They showed up late. They were mashing our stuff, taking things apart they shouldn't have taken apart. If you remember the story, there was a time between Ontario and Saskatchewan where I didn't know where anything was, my stuff was. The truck driver was not answering my phone calls. And then he shows up days late, so there's no workers. So great people from Lakeview showed up to help, and that was awesome and great. And the floors were gouged, and then there was money to be had, and then he owed me, and things went sideways, and I was so angry. This is not right. I want justice. I don't want to lose. And then my brain kicks in again. Just this week, Wednesday morning, I'm taking a shower, and the voice turns on and says, hey, remember that time you moved to Saskatchewan? Yeah. Do you remember that time the truck driver screwed you over? Yeah. That sucked, right? Yeah. Okay, bye now. Boom, gone, shut the door. And my hair is frothy, and I'm frothy at the mouth too because I'm angry. I want justice. I don't want to lose. I don't want this guy to take advantage of me. But mercy says, it's okay to lose. But, that's illogical. I don't want to be taken advantage of. I don't want people to step on me. I hate that feeling. I want what's coming to me. I want what I deserve. And Jesus steps into the new system and says, oh, no, you don't. You do not want what you deserve. You do not want what's coming to you. And beyond that, will God's goodness, faithfulness, mercy, grace, love, healing, and relief not sustain you? As Christians, it's okay for us to lose. It's not right. It's not right when we get taken advantage of. That's not what Jesus is saying. But it's okay for us to be stepped on just a little. Why? Because God's going to take care of us just as well. So maybe when you feel the burn of being taken advantage of, when someone hurts you, when someone does something to you that is unjust and unkind, take that feeling, take that burn and say, oh, okay, this is a signal, this is a sign, this is a reminder that the new system is in place. I can't operate the old way. I'm going to show mercy in a world where mercy is in such short supply. So friends, pass mercy on to all the movers who have taken advantage of you. Friends, pass mercy on to the spouse who is unloving to you. Friends, pass mercy on to your classmates or to the kids at school that are not good to you. Pass mercy on to your kids who talk back to you in such a way that really hurts you. Because really, isn't this what Jesus had in mind all along? Do you remember this story? That later, when Jesus was eating supper at Matthew's house with his close followers, a lot of disreputable characters came and joined them. And when the Pharisees saw him keeping this kind of company, they had a fit and lit into Jesus' followers. What kind of example is this from your teacher, acting cozy with crooks and riffraff? And Jesus, overhearing, shut back. Who needs a doctor? The healthy or the sick? Go figure out what this scripture means. I'm after mercy, not religion. I'm here to invite outsiders and not to coddle insiders. Religion, or the old system says, you better be perfect. Cross your T's, dot your I's, do not step out of line, be squeaky clean, get it 110% right, or else you're out. But mercy says, the other guy, the next guy, deserves just as much compassion, grace, love, forgiveness, healing, wholeness, relief as you do. So instead of forgiving and forgetting, why don't you forgive and remember all that Jesus has done for you? So because of that, mercy says it's okay to lose. Why? Because mercy is a search party for you and for those who have done you harm. So with that in mind, I'm going to invite the ushers to come one more time, and we're going to eat this merciful meal here together. I'm going to invite the band out as well to lead us in song, as per usual. Gluten-free option in the middle of the dish for you if you cannot have wheat. Once everyone has been served, we'll partake together, so hang on to your elements. So as the band sings and as things get handed out, perhaps you need to think about if you are showing mercy or not to yourself or to others. Maybe you need to think about and ponder and sit with why it's okay to lose. And perhaps you need to sit and settle with this idea that what God is looking from you is not about being picture perfect. What God is looking for you from, he's saying, hey, be merciful.